Good evening, President Paperman, members of the governing board, Superintendent Finch, and special guests. It is clear that DVUSD is #extraordinary by the packed house we have here tonight. Tonight, we are celebrating students from the court to the newsroom, and even some who found success once again in the stock market game. First up tonight, we are celebrating our Deer Valley High School boys basketball team. The Deer Valley varsity boys basketball team, led by Coach Jed Dunn, made an incredible run in the state playoffs this season for the 13th time in 15 years. Ranked number 8 going into the playoffs, the boys worked very hard to get to their moment on the championship floor at the Arizona Veterans Memorial Coliseum, taking out opponents including a team on a 10-game winning streak, the number 1 seed in the playoffs, and the defending state champions, Mesquite High School. The game against Mesquite went back and forth until the very end, where Deer Valley would find themselves down by 1 point with just 4.2 seconds left in the game. With time ticking away, Coach Dunn substituted Eric Perkins, who went coast to coast and hit Travis Vasquez with a no-look pass for a game-winning layup buzzer beater finish. The Skyhawks faced division rival Peoria in the matchup, and the team entered halftime with the lead. Coming out, the Skyhawks continued to roll, but Peoria got hot on the other end, inching forward, and the Panthers came even closer. With the loss, the Skyhawks fell one step short of their goal, 8 to state, but their effort was nonetheless #extraordinary. With playoff appearances in 13 of the last 15 years under the leadership of head coach Jed Dunn, Deer Valley has proven that they deserve to share the floor in any state championship. The Skyhawks finished the season with 22 wins and made it to the state championship from an 8th seed. Dunn explained that the road to this championship game was one of the hardest paths that he has had to travel in his previous 2 state championship runs, both in 2018 and 2019. Check out this buzzer beater finish by the Deer Valley Skyhawks. Congratulations to the 4A boys basketball state runners-up, Deer Valley High School.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to you.
Our next winter sport award goes to the set of teams truly making a name for themselves in the pom and cheer circuit. The Mountain Ridge JV cheer team swept their competition this season. Winning USA Nationals in the JV show cheer division in Anaheim, California last month, this team is now two-time national champions and eager to continue this legacy. The 25 athletes making up this squad began training in the summer and started out their season strong with energy that showed that they had something to prove this year. It was true. Not only did they win nationals, but they went on to also take first place at the Arizona State cheer competition in both JV show cheer and all-girls stunt. Check out this short clip. Congratulations to the Mountain Ridge JV cheer team on their incredible, extraordinary season. And that's not all for Mountain Ridge tonight. Their pom team also showed their spirit. Mountain Ridge's varsity competition team won multiple region competitions, the AIA State Championship in the varsity medium jazz division, where they received the highest dance score of the weekend. And the most entertaining award in the pom and jazz category. That wasn't enough for these tenacious mountain lions, though. The varsity pom team also took their talents to nationals. They competed for the first time in the USA National Championship High School Game Day Division and walked away as national champions. This award is a win for the program as a whole, and it's such an amazing opportunity for their teams to compete together. This is their second national championship in 2 years for the program. Here's a short clip of their performances. Congratulations to Mountain Ridge's varsity team.
Girls, shift this way.
The judges love their energy.
At DVUSD, we not only have great high school athletes, but our middle school students show what they're made of as well. The Hillcrest Spirit Line team did an amazing job this season at the Arizona Cheer and Palm State competition. Their show cheer team won by an impressive margin of 14.5 points. Here's a short clip of their performance.
The judges love their energy. Their team won scores, and they're very impressed with what they're doing. Enjoy these highlights.
The Hillcrest Palm team came in second place, missing first place by just 1 point with their 80s rock themed performance that made the crowd go wild.
The team was up first, and they did an amazing job with their 80s rock theme that made the crowd go wild. Here are some of the highlights.
And for the first time, Hillcrest had a state champion in the dance solo category. Congratulations to Amaya Llewellyn, who judges noted was a true athlete with her impressive performance. Congratulations to all of our amazing athletes from Hillcrest for their hard work. Up next tonight is Sandra Day O'Connor's The Talon newspaper. Being the only high school newspaper in the Deer Valley Unified School District to be printed, The Talon is committed to delivering exceptional journalism and digital communication. Their website, thetalonOHS.com, hosts their award-winning online content. Despite the limited size of their team, consisting of only 8 students, their mighty dedication to producing quality journalism is truly impressive. They have recently achieved great success, earning first place in the Arizona Press Association's state competition for their online publication. And claiming third place finish for their print edition. This is the second year in a row that the Talon has won this prestigious award of first place for online newspaper. In addition, 7 Talon staff members won individual awards for their outstanding journalistic writing. DVUSD may have some future journalists on our hands. Congratulations to the Sandra Day O'Connor Talon newspaper staff. Last up tonight is Boulder Creek High School and their first place win in the Arizona Council on Economic Education stock market game. The stock market game builds a fundamental understanding of investing while providing students with real-world skills in communication and teamwork. More than 5,000 Arizona students competed in this fall's 12-week training period. For the game, the teams of 3 to 4 students manage a $100,000 portfolio, buying and selling stocks, bonds, and mutual funds based on real-time markets. Boulder Creek economics students compete in the 9th through 12th grade high school division, and under the leadership of Jeff Vettner and Chris Pondy, all seniors enrolled in economics take part in this valuable experience. For the past 5 years, Boulder Creek Economics Department has been a model of excellence in the stock market game, winning first place year after year. I think it's safe to say that we can all hand our money over to these students safely. Boulder Creek has inspired other Deer Valley Unified Schools to register their students to participate as well. This year's winning team was Dominic Campa, Archie Solberg, and Taylor Leftwich. Their team led the game statewide during most of the season, using their knowledge of both long and short stocks, as well as a win in a down market. Congratulations to the Boulder Creek High School economics students and their teachers. Congratulations to all of tonight's extraordinary honorees. At this time, we will have Dr. Finch and our governing board take their seats for a special presentation from the Superintendent's Student Advisory Council Representative Brendan Salisbury.
All right, good evening, board members, Dr. Finch, and guests. Thank you all for having me. My name is Brendan Salisbury. I am a junior in the IB program at Barry Goldwater, and I am very pleased to tell you a little bit about the Superintendent Advisory Success Summit. So this year, we focused on the impacts of media, and we chose our motto to be Impact Over Impress. For those who don't know about the Superintendent's Student Advisory Council, we are some of the district's leaders who get picked by our principals from each school, and then we are selected to be on this board and coordinate and collaborate with Dr. Finch to create, quite frankly, an amazing summit to which I'm very grateful to have been a part of for about 5 years now. We work together to create an impactful theme that we believe will be able to impact that will be able to benefit the students each and every year. So if we go to our next slide, we divided our summit into 6 main categories, which were speech, social media, art and music, TV and movies, and news, as well as utilizing media. Now, for what most of us think when we think about media, we think social media. It is the most polarizing, the most flashy, and the most in your face. However, what we wanted to educate students is that every single day we're spreading media in the way that we present ourselves, in the way that we speak, in our art and music taste, the way that we interact with the internet, the news that we consume, the movies that we watch, and how we can create movies. And then utilizing media brought all of these applications together into one, with applications all the way from 5th graders to 12th graders. So here we have some in-action photos. Dr. Finch giving a wonderful welcome to our students right off the bus. We have our students in the gym doing the activities. And to give a brief overview of what these activities consisted of, speech was run by our wonderful executive board members, and it covered how when we speak to others, when we are giving speeches, when we are quite frankly just talking to one another, we are portraying a level of our own identity. And so it was important to impart upon these young and older students what that means at different ages. We also looked at the impacts of social media. Here we go. So ground zero, how are we going to make this happen? This happens over the course of a myriad of months. And so in order to have this happen, we coordinate monthly meetings every month, either virtually or here at the district office with the wonderful Miss Bybee. And we usually start off with icebreakers. So this photo that I really like, the one that we chose, was quite literally breaking ice. So when we bring in our students, oftentimes they will be hesitant because as we all know, running a 500-person summit is not easy and is quite daunting, especially when you're talking to your peers. So being able to relate to them is going to be great. So we start at ground zero and we say, you know what, let's get to know one another. For this activity, we literally brought in blocks of ice and we were able to crush them together. And this was representing crushing the summit. This was more near the end when we really needed to come together and also recognize that not everything in the summit was going to go to plan. Segueing to our next point, which was practice before the big day, we were able to really centralize on how practice doesn't make perfect, it makes progress. That was one of the main things that we tried to impart when practicing for the summit this year. A quick shout out to the custom design on our summit t-shirts. This is Amy Merritt, also a junior in the IB program at Barry Goldwater, and has made the two last summits logos for the superintendent summit. Just wanted to say thank you. She's a dear friend of mine who's been kind enough to donate her time each and every time. And then we have some action shots. So during this summit, we had an intro from the wonderful Katie McPherson. She was kind enough to come and educate us on how we interact with social media, not only for ourselves in the present, but in the future. We talked about LinkedIn, which not many elementary schoolers are going to know about. We talked about how we can interact with our Instagram feeds and how we can look at our different social medias in order to present ourselves in the best way possible, and also how to look at people who we follow and don't follow, because it's not only how you present yourself, it's who you associate with as well. And we followed up with our activities, and then we broke for lunch. However, something new that we really tried to hone in on this year was after the summit, we came together with each of the schools and made an action plan and said, how do we take what you learned today and apply it at your own schools? Because we know, quite frankly, you can go to as many PLCs, as many summits as you'd like, but if you don't have the ability to apply it at your own school, you wasted your time. So we really ironed in the fact that you want to take, even if it was just a brief leadership skill, you can take that to your NJHS, your student government, whatever organization you lead, and then take that and run with it. So we made individual plans. I had probably my most proud moment was I had a fifth grader come up to me and say, hey, I want to run a mini summit at my school. How do I do that? And so I was able to give them my email. And so we'll be coordinating that actually within the next school year. And so having that happen, especially at such a young, highly impactful, and really shows me the fact that I was actually able to impart education. And so moving to some feedback that we got, an elementary school student at Anthems said that I learned that the way we portray ourselves on social media can either hurt or help us in some way. I also learned that you could use social media to benefit yourself or your peers around you. So oftentimes I think we will demonize social media. It's very commonly seen as being misused, especially by students. Correct. But if we start from ground zero and we say, you know what, here are the correct ways to use it, we recognize that you have the power and the free will to misuse, but we're going to trust you and empower you to do the correct thing. And so I thought that was really awesome to see at such a young age that we can recognize and reinforce these behaviors. Moving up to middle school, I learned from our apparently now very famous Hillcrest Middle School, I learned that a digital footprint is real and that what you say on the internet can be changed completely different with just one person. I also learned that the media is a good way to express yourself. Digital footprint is a huge thing that we tried to impart specifically in the social media group that I ran. We imparted what is a red flag. How do we identify them? We were able to be silly and serious at the same time. The amount of trolling memes was quite large, but we were really able to look deeper into how we analyze our own digital footprint and going back and saying, you know what, maybe I don't want to share. The fact that there is also second chances on social media. Not everything has to be canceled. Sometimes oftentimes, quite frankly, we can change ourselves and then communicate. We can apologize. We can be a real human on the internet. And so recognizing that making yourself more human is going to make you more likable. And perfection and non-perfection are both okay. And then finally, from Boulder Creek, the summit was so inspiring. I usually think of all the negative aspects of social media, but this summit, with all of its activities and the speakers there, inspired me to be positive about the potential of social media. So as we transition into our collegiate careers, we're going to make sure that we are presenting ourselves correctly. We are really honing in on the fact that social media is our tool and not our enemy. And so, in summary, at this point, I would love to take any and all questions the board have for me, if there are any, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you for the presentation and also for educating our students the importance of social media. Mrs. Orway, do you have a question?
What I really appreciated after all these years is that we're still doing it, that it goes back to K-6 schools, middle schools, K-8 schools, and to high schools. But the common thread was clear, and I don't think it was planned that way, but Katie started it with positive social media. She did add the LinkedIn thing, and she did add in the clearinghouse for applying to jobs, whether you're 16, 15, or 72, that they check your social media. But you guys had that throughout the whole thread, that it can be positive. So I appreciated all the work that everyone put in. And Ms. Taylor, I'm going to mention you too, because I think you might have hauled about, I don't know, 50, 60 boxes.
Well, I had a wonderful time. It was nice to be able to see our community coming together from high school all the way down through elementary school. So thank you for that. I actually had an opportunity to get involved in one of the activities with the group of students. They invited me over, so that was fun. You're very well spoken. I can tell that these types of programs are really great for our students. So we appreciate it. Appreciate Dr. Finch leading this out because it really is a great program, and I'm glad I was able to be there and witness it that day. And thank you, Sheila, because you worked so hard as well. So I appreciate that. We all do. Okay.
Mr. Carver?
Yeah, the call out that I want to make from attending your activity is how heartwarming and amazing it was to see the youth such as yourself that understand that you've been given a certain set of gifts in this life and you're willing to impart those with the younger generation. You understand that you have this ability to speak and that people gravitate towards you as a leader. And I commend you for taking on that mantle and not shrugging it. The fact that the entire summit was led and managed and taught by the youth to the youth was amazing. And I commend all of you for what you've done. Good job.
Thank you.
Ms. Fisher?
I just want to thank you for coming and representing everybody that was there because this is where the nerves really hit, and you've done great.
Dr. Finch?
We'd be remiss if we wouldn't. Satasha's actually hiding behind a corner there on purpose, probably. She doesn't like to be recognized, but she is actually, Satasha is the brains behind the operation, and I know you honored her, but I'd like her to stand and receive some honor as well. Wrangling 350, 400 kids is not easy. So good job, Brennan, and good job for the team. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Brennan.
All right. Thank you. And
Really,
just,
one more thing. Shout out to Barry Goldwater for hosting. They had their dance, they had their band, they've got everything. So, and of course, the facilities people cleaned up after us.
thank you all for your time.
We'll take a 5 minutes break before we start the board meeting. Thank you. Okay, we're going to begin. Good evening and welcome to the Governing Board meeting for the Deer Valley Unified School District on Tuesday, March 28, 2023. I call to meet the order at 7:09. Let the record reflect that all board members are present. If you are able to stand, please do so and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
You may be seated. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. 5 votes. Our next not, okay. Okay, fine. Our next item on the agenda is action item A, approve recommendation for the principal for Greenbrier Elementary, and it goes to Dr. Z.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
We need a motion
Oh,
Can
first.
do
sorry.
the motion?
May I have a motion?
What's her name again? I move that the governing board accept administration's recommendation for the principal of Greenbrier Elementary School, Cindy Mills.
Second.
All those in favor? Oh, okay, Dr. Z.
Good evening again, President Paperman, members of the board, Dr. Finch. It is my pleasure this evening to bring this wonderful person to my left, Miss Cindy Mills, to this meeting as our recommended candidate for the principal at Greenbrier Elementary School. Cindy comes to us most recently from the Tolleson Elementary School District, where she has been a principal there for more than a decade. Cindy has a wealth of experience that she will bring to the school. We believe she'll do a fantastic job with both the students, the staff, and the community as a whole. Also, Cindy began her career as an educator here in Deer Valley Unified School District, where she was a teacher at Sierra Verde and a coach. So she's coming back home. That's
Any questions, board members? Okay, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
Aye.
5-0.
Now can I say something?
Okay.
20-minute speech. Awesome.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Finch, I just wanted to tell you it's an honor to come back and be part of the Deer Valley School District. I know that we are going to do great things at Greenbrier together, and I thank you for this opportunity.
I just have to tell you, I'm glad you're going to be there, and my son has already reserved an opportunity to come visit his school.
Is there an adoring crowd out there?
Our next item is B, 2023 Music in Our School Month Proclamation. Mrs. Fisher, please read the proclamation.
Do you want the motion first or the proclamation first?
Okay, we'll do the motion. May I have a motion?
I move that the governing board approve the proclamation declaring March Music in Our School Month at Deer Valley Unified School District.
Second.
And I'll read that. Whereas for more than 30 years, March has been officially designated as the National Association of Music Education as Music in Our Schools Month, encouraging communities across the nation to focus on music education. And whereas music education is part of a well-rounded education for every student, as outlined in Every Student Succeeds Act. And whereas the purpose of this celebration is to raise awareness of the lasting positive impact of music education in academic, personal, and professional growth of our students. And whereas music education shapes the way our students understand themselves and the world around them, allowing for deep engagement with learning. And whereas Music in Our Schools Month reminds us that schools is where all children should have access to music. And whereas music educators, students, and communities throughout Deer Valley Unified School District demonstrate important to quality musical education programs to the lives of young people. Whereas Deer Valley Unified School District joins our music students, educators, and communities in celebrating the power of music education. Now therefore, I, Kimberly Fisher, Governing Board Vice President of the Deer Valley Unified School District, do hereby proclaim on the 28th of March, 2023 as Music in Our Schools Month, and encourage all citizens to celebrate and acknowledge every day, but especially in March, the music education as an essential part of every student's well-rounded education.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. So passes 5. Our next item is district report, item 8, music in our school, and this goes to Dr. Galligan.
Good evening, President Paperman, governing board members, Dr. Finch. Tonight we have, as you just heard, Music in Our Schools Month, the proclamation, and an update on the amazing celebrations of music in our schools for our students, our teachers, and our programs. What you'll hear from Miss Anna Backstrom, who is our Fine Arts Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, is just an update on the music programs in Deer Valley, kindergarten through 12th grade, and some of the celebrations.
President Paperman, board members, Dr. Finch, and guests, we have 14 different K-12 music programs throughout the district with specialty instrumentation and opportunities at each campus. Here you can see some of the events that students have participated in this year, from marching band performances, staffing camaraderie, choral events, and concerts. Our programs have benefited from bond and Title IV funding. We are also able to provide incredible performance opportunities for all of our student performance programs. These are pictures of our choral programs. First annual Show Off in the Desert Show Choir Festival, the first ever to be held in Arizona, was held just a few weeks ago at Boulder Creek High School. Our district level assessments and honor choir performances, and you can also see the Mountain Ridge High School Honor Choir posing for their picture after they sang the national anthem at the state capitol for the opening day ceremony of the 56th legislature on Monday, January 9th, 2023. More district events for our music programs are full district PD days, department leads for program assistants, and a Fine Arts CIS to communicate to all leads and coordinate all district level events, funding support, advocacy, curriculum instruction, and assessment materials. These pictures represent the continued opportunities that students have had this year in marching band and programs. Here, we have some celebrations that I would like to bring your attention to. Approximately 700 plus elementary middle school students have participated in some type of special event or have been honored for their amazing talents in music from this past year. Here you see our general music classrooms and an amazing show choir performance. These are a few celebrations from the Mountain Ridge #Extraordinary Band program. Superior with distinctions and first place at competitions seem to be a constant with these amazing students. Our high school choral programs are not to be outdone either. Many of them attended state-level competitions and festivals. As you can see with our award-winning choral programs, our students are receiving fabulous experiences. At this time, I would also like to thank the Governing Board for their most recent approval of the newly adopted curriculum resources, Quaver Ed and Music First, in which our #Extraordinary programs will use to support continued growth of our district music programming. Thank you again for your support of our music programs and for the proclamation of Music in Our Schools Month here in DVUSD. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Thank you. This is a great program for students. Will you be able to explain, Dr. Gallivan, the $2.5 million in bond funds, like how important is that in order to maintain the fine arts?
President Paperman, members of the board, as you know, funding ensures that our music programs have facilities, have instruments, have music. It's extremely important that both bond funds, title funds, and other district funds are always identified for our music programs. Anna has been very instrumental in ensuring that the bond funds have been spread across not only our school configurations, elementary, middle, high school, but all of the different fine arts programs, of which the music is one of them. Anna, would you just share a little bit specific to maybe the music, the band and the choir for bond?
Absolutely. Thank you, President Paperman and board members. The bond funding, we brought together a committee to, come about of the spending of our bond money and how we're planning to allocate it. We've had teachers purchasing choral risers with bond funding where they had been welded and re-welded many times, so that's a huge benefit for our students. We've spent some of the bond money on the larger, expensive equipment, tubas, marimbas, a lot of marching band equipment. Just one, is $7,000. And so this is huge for our programs and our students to ensure that we're getting quality instruments and able to provide quality instrumentation and equipment for our students and their families so that we can be proud to be DVUSD music programs.
Thank you for the explanation. This helps the community members, like why we have this program and how important it is, for these bonds to, to pass to support our students. Any questions, board members?
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on to item B, Auditor General 2021-2022 District Spending Report, and this goes to Mrs. Mock.
President Paperman, members of the board, and guests here in person and online. I often talk about not knowing which year I'm in. As we are currently in the 22-23 school year and working on the 23-24 budget, we are just wrapping up some of the reporting for last school year, 21-22. And at the beginning of March, the Arizona Auditor General released the 21-22 district spending reports. We still have the disclaimer up here. There are a few of us have Still remember when it was the classroom dollar report, and we may slip from time to time and continue to call it that. So if you ever hear us talking about the classroom dollar report, it is now the district spending report. The district spending report comes to us courtesy of ARS 41-1279.03 that requires the Auditor General to determine the percentage of every dollar Arizona schools spend in the classroom. These reports are on the Auditor General's website, but you will find them for public school districts only. You will not find a similar report for charter schools. This report then, on the other side, does report the non-classroom spending as well. This includes administration, plant operations, or what we typically call facilities, food service, transportation, student support, and instructional support. As a side note, we mention this often, as of the fiscal year 2015-2016, Function 2350, the 2300 series specifically reports administration. All of our retiree health insurance is paid out of that function as a requirement of the Uniform System of Financial, or the USFR. And it is a benefit that not every school district provides to their retirees. And it's a very expensive benefit. Deer Valley is actually phasing that out as of new hires from July 2009 forward, but we still have that ongoing expense. We'll see in a little bit how that affects our comparison across the state and to other districts. But as a whole, for fiscal year 22, Deer Valley's classroom spending, which includes our instruction, student support, and instruction support, came in at 71.8, or just under 72% of our spending. Our instruction is direct classroom. Those are our teachers and paraprofessionals who are providing that direct instruction to students. Student support includes all of our, what we usually call our other professional services, and our student support service department, Dr. McCusker and her team, that help provide those additional services to special education students to make sure that they can receive the instruction and be successful in the classroom. And then our instruction support, that is basically our curriculum department, and Dr. Galligan and her folks, and those three total round out our classroom spending. The remaining departments and areas, as we just in the previous slide, are our non-classroom spending, which come in at just above 28% of our overall spending. Administration, which includes not just that 2300 series that we talked about in the previous slide, that includes our 2300 administration, 2400 school administration, so anyone in the front office, with the exception of the registrar, so the principal, the secretary, any other front office staff are included in that category, and then our 2500 series, which are district office administration. So it includes most of the staff who do complete business operations or the operation of the school campus. Plant operations, or again, our facilities department, came in at 10.5%, food service at 4%, and transportation at 4.1%. We always share the comparison for our peer group, and it's really important to note on this slide that you will hear us talk about our comparable districts that we have identified, and those are suburban districts in Phoenix metropolitan area proper. For this report, the Auditor General's office actually identifies who our peer group is, and you will see that this does include some high school districts as opposed to just unified districts. And so we're very happy to report that Deer Valley for fiscal year 22 ranked second overall in our total instructional spending at 59.4%. If I remember correctly, it was Glendale Union High School District who popped onto this list last year. They had not been on the list for fiscal year 21. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. You can see the peer average group percentage there is at 57%.
That was a decrease from the overall peer group average the prior year of 57.8. Now, we do believe that a large part of that could be from some of the ESSER funds, the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund, that all the school districts have had to put toward expenses and toward the classroom over the last few years. So probably through fiscal year '24, sometimes it's hard to tell where a school district might find, depending on how much of those funds they have spent or where they chose to put those funds as well. But we're pleased to see that Deer Valley's back. We typically rank within the top 3. Last year, I think, fell to the 4th school district on the list, but we are back up and chasing Gilbert to make sure that we are try to get to that top spot for instructional spending in our peer group. And if I didn't say it, that peer group is very large school districts in the state, and very large is identified as a school district with 15,000 or more students. Now, Deer Valley is right now right under 33,000 students, and Union High School districts all have that high school group weight that not all students in Deer Valley have. So if you ask me, it's not exactly a fair comparison, but we're very happy with where we are on the list. Some of our cost measure comparisons that are in the report include our administration, fleet operations, and food service costs, plant operations and our food service cost compared to that peer, not only the peer average, but across the state as well. We are very pleased, again, this year for fiscal year '22, that we were comparable with the peer average. And I think even when it comes to food service, some of these measures, I think what we don't like about them is that there's no context. The example that we like to provide most often is with food service. When you look at the average spending per meal, well, we could have a very, very low average per student or spending per meal, but that would be irrelevant without the meals per student, without that participation. So it's not just what you're spending, it's whether or not it's providing a good service to the students and whether they are enjoying the meals that you're providing for that cost as well. Transportation there on the bottom. We need to note again that in fiscal year '21, the comparisons were not provided on whether or not school districts were high or low or comparable compared to their peer average. And that was because fiscal year '21 having some of the shutdown time due to COVID. And so we're looking at a comparison compared to fiscal year '20. Our report for fiscal year '20 for our transportation showed that our spending per mile was very high, and so it has decreased from very high in fiscal year '20 to high. And for our spending per rider, we actually then dipped down from high to comparable. That is a major achievement for our transportation department. Deer Valley Unified School District encompasses 367 square miles. Many of the school districts in our peer group are far from as large as we are, very more metropolitan and contained in a smaller area. And choices that we make to ensure that we have quality bus drivers feed into our average cost spending per rider and spending per mile, such as ensuring our bus drivers can be benefited employees, and also the distance that we use for our routes, making sure that kindergartners or first graders aren't on the bus for an exuberant amount of time or an exhaustive amount of time that would be contradictive to them being able to learn appropriately or get home in a timely manner. So I think this shows that the efforts that we have been making are finally starting to be realized. Here is the 5-year trend comparison. And with the 5-year trend, we do see a slight dip, as mentioned on that average slide for all of the peer districts, in the instruction on the left-hand side. That is consistent across the peer group, And again, could be a part of some of those additional funds that are being funneled in from some of the emergency relief funds that districts have available. We did have a slight decrease in our administration or administrative costs as well, and a slight, let's see, trying to see if I can see that far, a slight increase in our student support and instructional support. So when we talk about that peer group, we like to focus in just on our comparable districts, the ones that are identified in our governing board policy. And this includes Peoria, Paradise Valley, Scottsdale, Gilbert, Chandler, and although Dysart's not officially named, we do include them in the mix as they are now very like-sized to Deer Valley with the growth that they have seen over the last several years. So you can see here how Deer Valley compares to that specific comparable average and the state in a little bit better format. When it comes to administration, we are comparable and actually significantly lower than the state average spent on administration. Our peer group average is a little bit lower than ours, but again, that is that retiree insurance benefit that Deer Valley provides that not everyone in our comparable group provides. And so that does have us just a little bit higher. If we were able to make those payments in the function area where the individual retired from, it would look a little bit different. Our plant operations, again, are lower than the state average and comparable to our comparable group, as well as our food service. And if you see our student support, even with that slight uptick, I think it was 0.6% increase or 0.3% increase in student support, that we are still lower in our percentage for student support for the state average and the comparable average. Where we are slightly higher is in transportation, but we saw that on the previous slide with our peer group as well. So we take a look at not only the percentage, but the metrics as a dollar per student. We can see that the dollars per student on administration is high when compared to our comparable group, but not for the state average as a whole. Plant operations are, again, lower than our comparable group and the state average. Transportation, you can see here just a different way of looking at that dollar per student and how it is slightly higher than our comparable average. And classroom support at the bottom. I think this is of note that when it comes to classroom support, we do have fewer dollars per student than the state average and the comparable average, but we'll get to the last slide here in a second and where that makes a huge difference. This slide is one that we have to define very clearly. We want to make sure that everyone knows this is not class size. This is a teacher comparison of comparable districts. And so our student-teacher ratio is specifically the number of teachers that we have that support students in direct instruction. It's not just homeroom teachers. And so where an average class size and what we staff our classrooms on is higher, this includes our reading specialists, our PE teachers, our art teachers, all of our specialist teachers, all of those folks who see students throughout the entire day. And so they are included in that support ratio of students to teachers. Our average teacher salary, would like to thank the board again for the decision it made earlier this school year for that one-time payment that we were able to make to staff on March 2nd. We keep making efforts like that, and we still keep chasing the state average. Our state average for fiscal year 22, even though we've been making these decisions and making significant efforts to increase salary for all of our staff, but especially teachers, We still just can't quite catch that state average. We were very, very close in fiscal year 20, I think. And again, with some of the one-time funds, one-time payments that come to teachers, whether it be from ESSER or other one-time funds, are included in that average as well, even if the base salary hasn't increased. So I think that's important to note as well. Average years of service for Deer Valley teachers, right around the same as our comparable school districts, but much higher than the state average. Now we're going to look at the cost measure comparison of comparable districts. You can see it is about a few page report with a lot of graphics, but we really delve into this information and take a look at it to see, to help us as we make decisions budgeting now for next school year. You can see our administrative cost per pupil and the students per administrator. So not just that dollar value, but how many administrators we have compared to students, how many square feet per student, and how we compare to the state and our comparable average or our comparable districts. We have, I think, more student. I had to read that right. More students per administrator, fewer square feet per student, but we are able to provide what we know to be a better education than those folks. Or, do I see nods over here, Gary? And looking at transportation, those costs we can see are slightly higher or slightly, cost per mile is, yeah, let me squint, slightly higher, but again, some of those are calculated decisions that we make, and some are just a result of the size of the district. So looking at the administration costs by function, I mentioned on an earlier slide that administration, I think it's often misunderstood what constitutes administration when you hear that word. And it is the general administration 2300 function, which includes our superintendent's office and governing board, and those required retiree insurance benefits that we have to code to that category specifically. And for us, that's about a $3.8 million, almost $3.9 million cost per year. Our 2400 is our school administration. So as said previously, that's our principals and front office staff. And then our 2500 are central services, which is going to be your district office business offices, such as purchasing, warehouse, finance, accounts payable, HR, payroll, all of those sorts of functions. So these, this comparison we don't take from the Auditor General's report. Mr. Miglerino puts this together from the annual financial report for each district, or the AFR. And the top is where Deer Valley falls with the employee retiree insurance in that 2300 category. And it is normalized in that bottom grid there. And so Deer Valley actually, with that cost of the employee benefit, the retiree insurance taken out of the total expenses for that category, is well below the average for administration cost for central administration. We are slightly, let's see, where's the, we are at the average for school administration and slightly above the average, I believe, for central services as well. I should always look at my printed copy because I just can't see that far, some of that Jim font. But I think this just shows why we always make the point about the retiree insurance and the requirement to code any of those payments into that 2300 central services fund. So these are our conclusions. We compare positively among our peer groups, even better when compared to the state, and that for not just our spending, but the last page of the Auditor General District Spending Report are is our performance on state assessments. And we do perform better than the peer average and the state average by far on the state assessments. And so we really do believe that we do more for less. And you can see that on that second bullet. Our comparable group spends, we spend $452 or 4.7% less than our comparable group, and even less when it comes to the state average. We've talked about the administrative cost. However, with all of this, we do know that there are always opportunities to explore efficient ways to meet our transportation needs and all of our business needs, really, to continue to look for any sort of efficiencies we can find in our operations wherever they are. And with that, I will answer any questions, and any that I can't, I will defer to Mr. Migliorino.
Of course you will.
Any questions, Board Member?
Ms. Mock, would you explain what that retirement amount is, or just explain what that is, and then I have another question.
Okay. President Paperman, Mrs. Ordway, it's known as the, Other Post-Employee Benefits, or OPEB, and for individuals who retired from Deer Valley Unified School District, it was a retention plan that was previously enacted that individuals who retired at a normal retirement age, Deer Valley Unified School District would pay for their insurance until they reached Medicare eligible age of 65. And at the cost of $3.88 million per year, that cost would be probably exponentially greater if the plan had not been phased out. And so the governing board, with on the recommendation of administration, made the decision that any employee hired as of July 1st, 2009 would no longer be eligible for the plan. But even those who remain eligible have to have been hired before that date, be employed with Deer Valley Unified School District for more than 15 years, and retire from the district at a normal retirement age.
And perhaps at the next meeting or in a Friday update, the number of employees that we have left, kind of projection, that would still be, I see Jim looking at me with that eye.
Yeah.
Do you have that answer?
President Paperman, Ms. Ordway, yes, we actually, we have a required actuarial study that happens every other year. And so we do have those numbers for you.
Okay, thank you.
Stephanie, any questions? Mr. Carver?
So I don't know if this is the right time or not, but my question would be, Ms. Mock, why are you leaving? But
Oh, I wasn't going to bring that up.
I just want to thank you for all your service, and I appreciate all the work done on these slides. It's very detailed, very easy to understand and read, and appreciate that, and appreciate you. Thank you.
Mrs. Fisher?
Thank you.
I haven't analyzed it yet, so I'm not going to pepper you with questions. I'll send them. I'll pepper Jim with them after you get to go to the county. Because I'm looking at, I have a 7-year file, progressive. So I'll do the comparison with those because my numbers are just slightly different from what I'm seeing from the past reports. But you will be missed, just so you know. And
Thank you.
so everybody else knows she speaks German. I don't know why that's important, but it always impressed us.
Vielleicht.
So I do have a question. If you can explain to the community members, DVUSD spends less dollars per student, so it's $452, right, dollars per student compared to the average that is $1,176. So my question is, are we getting good amount of percentage from the Auditor General, or not enough that we need to spend less, or we're just putting the money somewhere else?
President Paperman, that is an excellent question. It may seem like, I think we joke sometimes that we like our students less than our neighboring districts, and that's just not true. What happens is that Deer Valley actually receives less funding per student than these other districts. And if you will go back to prior classroom spending reports, the Auditor General actually used to include the revenue per student in that report. And it was much to my chagrin that they removed it from the report because it made it very easy to show that Deer Valley received less per student. And so that's why we look at the dollar per student and the percentage of our budget per student. So if you look at the percentage, we are on par with the percentage. It is just that that percentage off of Deer Valley's budget is lower than those around us.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Oh, one more from Ms. Fisher.
Heather, I read somewhere from ASBO that there was errors within the report this year. Was there anything to that?
Vice President Fisher, I have not seen that, but we will look into that and put something in the Friday update.
Okay, because I'm just looking at some of my numbers from my two files, and some of them are just backwards. So I'm just wondering, like, our lowest year on my past report is our highest year. You know, they give you the years, so it's just kind of weird. I'm just wondering if it's, if there was any issues. If you could just let us know.
Next, we're moving on to the public comments. Do we have public comments? We have one. Mrs. Fisher, will you please read the admonishment and call the speaker?
Okay, Carrie Knudsen. I like that name. Let me read you the admonishment. Hold on a second. You gotta listen to this. The board invites public comments in the district's business in general and on any agenda item specific. All speakers must observe the rules of decorum. Speakers must fill out a card listing name, address, and topic, hand it to the board secretary prior to the president calling the meeting to order. Speakers must make their comments in no more than 3 minutes. If necessary, to accommodate all speakers within the 30-minute overall limit, the board president may shorten each speaker's time. Constructive criticism is in order. Rudeness, vulgarity, disruptive conduct, or remarks disparaging personal dignity are not in order and will not be allowed. Under the Arizona Open Meeting Law, the governing board cannot discuss or act on any items listed on the agenda, not listed on the agenda. Board members may respond to criticism made by the speaker, ask staff to review a matter, or ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. You're up.
Good evening. My name is Carrie Knudsen, and I've been a para for Deer Valley for 15 years. I still don't make $20K a year. I am wearing red for the blood our children extract from us, blue for the bruises they leave
Carrie,
on us,
get a
and
little
white
closer.
for the care we give them while they are feeding. We are feeding, changing, and helping them through the day. As I speak, Deer Valley needs 80 paraprofessionals. Deer Valley is paying certified subs that for a position that have been empty for all year. They are making $30 more than I am after 15 years. We do not get a hard to fill addendum like the special ed teachers get an extra $3K. But our union and our district thought it was fair to give us 30% less than all other comparable districts in Arizona. Your employees have CPI, CPR, and first aid. We are the caretakers. We are the first line of defense when things go awry. We deserve to make the same as you pay a sub to do our job. We are the ones you train to do this job. Our state is defunding public school and taking human rights away. We will have more and more special ed. If you believe our job is so easy as fast food workers that make more than paraprofessionals do, come do our job. Paras lives matter. We deserve that same raises and that teachers and administrators get. Our pay is so low that nobody wants to do our job. We would love to be fully staffed so our children could get what they need and and that they're entitled to. Done.
Thank you.
Questions?
Unfortunately, we can't ask them because it's an open meeting. However, I would like to ask the administration to give us a report on our paras. I'd like to have an idea of the low, the high, the medium, and years of service, because I know that we've done a lot of repairs in some of the other, but I don't know that we hit paras specifically. So if I could get something of that nature.
We're going to move on to item 6, consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve consent agenda?
I move that the governing board approve consent agenda items A through N as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed
Aye.
say nay. Aye.
Aye.
We are moving to item 7, action item. A, approve addenda pre-approval. Mrs. Fisher, can I get a motion?
I move that the governing board accept administration's recommendation to pre-approve the addenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, we're moving to item B, approve employee professional development state.
I move that the governing board ratify and approve all employee professional development out of state per governing board policy GCCE.
Second.
Point of information before we go farther.
Sure, Mr. Carver.
Make an amendment to the motion. At what point can I, or can I still?
You can make it now.
I'd like to amend the motion to exclude item D.
Could you clarify what that is?
Yeah, let me pull it up. D is sending people to participate in Hive 6 through 8 math conference. The reason for my exclusion is that they are using.
Let's go ahead and do the thing. and then
Okay.
discuss.
Yep. Sorry.
I'll second the motion so that we can have discussion. You need to call for the vote on the motion.
Okay. So I call the vote on the motion
To amend.
to amend. All those
I
in
was kind of
favor?
looking for the discussion before the vote, so he could
discussion.
explain to me.
To amend it first, and then we'll discuss what we're gonna do.
Well, we discussed it before we vote.
Well, I mean, we can discuss whether or not we're going to amend, but we should not be discussing the reason for the item, or the item. Because if we're not gonna amend it, it wouldn't be illogical. Do it however you wanna do it, I don't care. Ms. Hardway's, if you don't do it her way, we'll hear about it.
I didn't hear you, Mrs. Fisher. Could you repeat that?
I said, do it however you wanna do it.
I'm just trying to understand why we're doing that now.
Yeah,
But I can vote no.
We're
Not a
correct.
problem.
You're correct. We need to discuss it before you vote on the amendment.
Okay, so do you want to discuss this, your reason?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go first, I guess, since I brought it up.
I don't have a motion to discuss that.
So the reason for me wanting to exclude it is during purpose of travel, it says participants will engage in sessions that strategically grow practice by problem solving, working through implementation challenges, and walking through identified problems of practice. Each teacher, expert teachers of Open Up Resources. That's all. That's as far as I need to read, because if you look into Open Up Resources, it's not that they're necessarily problematic, except that when a school district in North Carolina decided to bring this organization in, some of the parents had issues with their methods, practices, and the organization that Open Up Resources uses, Mathematics Vision Project, decided to file suit against the parents for challenging them. And I just don't think that that's a good look to do business with an organization that wants to sue parents just for voicing their concerns. That's my reason.
We don't have a motion to discuss it.
Oh, okay, so,
So if I understand it correctly, at this point, if nobody else wants to discuss, we would vote on whether or not to add the amendment. If that fails, we go back to the original.
Correct.
correct,
Either gonna amend it or not, yeah.
So
Okay.
at this point, you'd call for a vote on the
Okay.
amendment.
Okay, so I call for the vote on the amendment. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those not in favor, say nay.
Nay.
Okay, I will say nay. Nay.
We
Okay.
returned the original motion.
Now I need to vote on the motion. Correct.
No, now we're back to our original
To
motion.
the original motion.
Correct.
Okay.
So now we can discuss the topic.
Okay, so is there any presentation on this topic? No? Mrs.
President
Dr. Gallagher.
Paperman, Mr. Carver, Open Up Resources are adopted middle school math resources, and Paseo Hills is trying to ensure that their teachers have appropriate professional development. This is not an unusual request for training for teachers, but it is our adopted resource at middle school.
Okay, any questions? Okay, so, yes? Okay. Okay, so I had a similar understanding what Dr. Gallagher had with information of the math curriculum. And I looked into it, and from my understanding is when I was reading through the email that I got from a parent, it was the instruction, like how the instruction of the math curriculum was going to be implemented within the classroom, if it's going to be direct instruction or if students are going to be learning independently. And being a teacher myself, from my experience, you do direct instruction and then you do grouping with students learning and working together to solve problems. And yes, I understand that in another state, because of a parent made a statement, there was some lawsuit. But to me, I feel that we need to look, that happened at that state. But we're here in Arizona that, Deer Valley, the way they're, they have their curriculum implemented is exposed to the parents to look at. Parents also can see what teachers are doing in the classroom. I haven't had just one parent that had that concern, but I haven't had any other parent with that concern.
The concern I have is that several of the curriculum that we've adopted, as we've discussed it, we've said, well, it does have that in it, but we're not taking that part. Oh, and it does have that in it, but we're not taking that part. We take what's, appropriate for our district. But now we're sending them out to learn what other districts are doing, not what our district does, not what our district has, not, it's open to training for use, things that perhaps are not in line with the district or with our communities. So that's a little concerning that we're doing it out at a conference away, out of state. And I'm a little curious as to why, if we're only doing, if we're tailoring the curriculums that we're getting to remove anything that's questionable, why we would then send them to be trained by perhaps others who are using the things that we shut out. Does that make sense?
President Paperman, Ms. Fisher, I know exactly what you're talking about. I do not believe with the Open Up Math resource that when we presented it and it was adopted, that there was anything at that point in time that we identified was not appropriate and acceptable for our middle school students. So we will certainly look again, but it's not one of the areas that has been brought to our attention for concern.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, we're moving on to item C. Oh, I'm sorry. All those in favor for item B, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say nay. 311. Moving to item C, approve the district performance pay percentage for classified administrative exam employee groups for F 2023. Any presentations for this item, Mr. Miglerino?
President Paperman, members of the board, Dr. Finch, we did want to bring for the board's consideration this evening the district performance pay plan. This plan has been in place for at least 18 years, maybe 19 years. Forgive me for not having that information in front of me. But this is to help mirror the plan that is part of the Classroom Site Fund, in which performance pay is a component of that for our certified and other professional staff. So all other employees in the district have a goal-based program that provides an opportunity for employees to earn performance pay at the end of the year. We are requesting the board's consideration of establishing the amount for this year at 2%, which has been the norm. I think every year it has been at 2%, except one of those last 18 and 19 years. And we intend to use our Medicaid and Public Schools Fund as the funding source for this. And I'd be happy to answer questions the board might have.
Any questions? Okay. Do I have a motion?
I move that the governing board accept administration's recommendation to approve the FY 22-23 district performance pay percentage for classified administrative and exempt employees group at 2%.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Five oh. Moving on to item D, approval of FY 23 supplemental revised salary recommendation. Any presentation for this?
President Paperman, members of the board, Dr. Finch, I did want to just highlight some of the components of what we're asking for the board to consider this evening. Just for some background, on December 13th, we approved the revision to the salary recommendation for this year. And we had some triggers that were included in the actual salary recommendation that was approved. Part of that included a one-time payment that was dependent on the aggregate expenditure limit to be resolved. That language was approved in December of 2022, so just about 4 months ago. And the aggregate expenditure limit, as the board is aware, did get resolved on February 8th. That was the date that was provided in the recommendation that indicated who was eligible. This supplemental is a clarification of what or how we would handle employees that were on leave as of the condition of that. This is required by the Department of Labor guidelines for addressing individuals on leave. It provides clarification for our employees that were on leave as to when they would receive the one-time payment. They are eligible for the payment upon their return or restoration to their position. So there's the second page has the details regarding the actual clarification. So there's really three groups. There's those that will return before their last day of their contract. They would be eligible on the first of the month following. And just to be able to spread the workload amongst our payroll and benefit folks, we will make those payments on the first non-payroll scheduled payroll, biweekly payroll that's provided. So just for illustrative purposes, we have a pay date scheduled for April 6th. If the board does approve this, we would then be able to pay anybody that returned to work in the month of March or by no later than April 13th, which would be the off payroll week. Again, just for illustrative purposes. Any employee who's not able to return to work before their last day of their contract or by June 1st, I have to read this. Yes, June 1st. but if they have signed their appointment for next year, so let's say that they were on leave, not able to return because their leave is going to be extended into the summer, we would make those payments on June 9th to those employees. But if an employee was on leave for the entire year, a personal leave that was the entire year, and was not here at all this fiscal year 22-23, they would not be eligible for the one-time payment, but we would provide the increase to their pay as we would for any other employee for the contract that they would sign in a future year. And then finally, just how we would handle new hires. February 8th became the trigger date that was in the recommendation. But what we would like to do is for any person that was hired after February 8th, we'd like to make the one-time payment to them, but make sure they complete their contract for this year. So using the same criteria that they work through the end of their last contract or that June 1st date, whichever comes first, because we could hire a 12-month employee that works the entire month. But we'd like to make all those payments on June 9th to those employees. So we're just trying to clarify how we would process people on leave on the trigger date of February 8th, as well as any new hires that we would have hired after February 8th. And I'd be happy to answer any questions from the board. Oh, one last thing, did share this with the negotiation solution team, did circulate it back out with them, and they were in agreement with this clarification to be able to help provide for the questions that they've been getting as well as we've been receiving as well.
Do I have a motion for this item?
I move that the governing board accept administration's recommendation to approve the FY23 supplemental revised salary recommendations.
Second.
Any questions before we move? Yes?
So, Mr. Miglorino, just educate me here. So if I happen to be a para, since that's a conversation we just happened a moment ago, that makes me a classified employee, is that correct?
President Paperman, Mr. Carver, that's correct.
So as a para, I could expect, as long as I met the employment qualifications, I could see $1.40 bump in my hourly rate after this is put into place?
That is correct. In fact, if you were an existing para and were actively working on the 8th of February, you would have already received that one-time payment.
Okay.
And it would be included in the appointment that we will issue to you for next year.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So I have a question for the classified. So it says $1.40. Is it $1.40 an hour, or this is like a one-time payment for them?
So President Paperman, it is $1.40 per hour times their what would be their annualized hours and days of their contract. So if they were scheduled to work 206 days and 7 hours, we would multiply the $1.40 times the 7 hours per day times the 206 days and pay them the one-time payment of the result of that equation. In the future years, it will be directly added to their pay as $1.40.
So this $1.40 is not directly into their pay, it's just a one-time.
It is a one-time payment for this year in
This year.
22-23. In future years, it will be attached to their base pay.
Attached to the piece. Okay, so another question. I know there's challenges retaining our classified staff like cleaner, bus drivers. If in the negotiation team, do we take into consideration to give them more in their pay? I know Deer Valley is not the only district that's dealing with trying to get cleaners to even clean the classrooms and bathrooms. My previous district, my principal had to come in my classroom, vacuum, clean, because we couldn't retain our classified for the reasons that they were not getting enough pay. So can we think out of the box? For example, why are we giving principals raises? Or maybe look at the top salary and then focus more on giving more to the classified so we can retain them.
Yeah, President Paperman, very good points. The negotiation solution team has been looking at all of those factors. I will say that the last salary increase that was part of the original approval of the FY23 salary recommendation did overweight the classified increases. And of course, things like minimum wage and reclassifications of certain groups of people, including paraprofessionals. Just 2 years ago, we reclassified those positions, as we have done for bus drivers and other key positions. What we have realized through reclassifying just targeted positions, whether it's been a paraprofessional or custodian, is that the entire classified salary schedule has to be increased. And so the $1.40 that is the one-time payment, all of that was added to the hiring schedule. So our lowest paid employee next year will be $15.25. Minimum wage is $13.85 currently. NST is working on a proposal to bring for the board to consider in April for salary increases for FY24. And we had a meeting just before this meeting this evening, and there was some discussion about overweighting the classified salary increase again to be able to address the concerns of filling those unfilled positions. And I just wanted to give credit to our employee groups, the administrative exempt group, as well as the teaching and other professional staff group have been supportive of that, because you are correct that many of our employees are feeling the pain, because if the classified employees, our support staffs, aren't there, it's falling on other people to do that work. And so there has been support for that. I think the question is, what is the amount of resources that we're going to have available to be able to do, and is it going to be enough to make an impact, a positive impact? Those are the things that the NST is working on now.
Thank you. I hope that we come up with a solution of our principals. They need the time to focus on academics, not cleaning the classroom and cleaning the bathrooms. Thank you. We're going to move on to, do I have sorry. All those in favor, do I have a motion for this? Oh, we were, okay, sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. We're going to move to item E, approve the 2023 summer pay rates. Do I have a motion for this item?
I move that the governing board accept administration's recommendation to approve the attached revised summer rates of pay scheduled for 2023-2024.
Second.
Any presentations for this item?
President Paperman, governing board members, no presentation, but I do want to point out, as the title says, it is for 2020. That what Ms. Fisher read, our hope is that the board would approve this through the summer of 2024. So for 23 summer and 24 summer, it certainly makes it easier as we plan for both summers. And also, this is something we bring to you annually. And the numbers that you see listed on this sheet are driven, the majority of them anyway, are driven from negotiated language.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? 5-0. Okay, thank you. Moving on to reports, governing board reports. Mrs. Orway.
Okay, so we're into March, almost April. I am happy to say that Calling All Fairy Godmothers had agreed to planned afternoons where I had ladies from Deer Valley High School, Barry Goldwater High School, Mountain Ridge High School, Verrado High School, and Peoria High School come, and it just is great. I've got more coming. Volunteers, Ms. Simichek was there, a couple of retired teachers and front office workers. So it's working out great. I had the opportunity to go to the Deer Valley Carnival, which was amazing. The cotton candy was just to die for. Boulder Creek High School, Selena Huggins invited me to speak to her Rising Educators class, so that was awesome. There is a shoe and a sock drive and and shorts drive going on. I know that Mrs. Simichek will talk about the shoes. We're trying to make sure that our food pantries stay stocked, so please, if you are on a campus that needs to be stocked, reach out and let us know so we can pair you with a school that will help. We've got state-required testing, which means that transportation has been very flexible for their late starts. I know that students are looking forward to the end, and perhaps there are some employees that are 9 months that are looking in and also. I'm looking forward to the last productions, the artwork. We've got a lot of end-of-the-year things to look forward to. Congratulations to all of our West Mex students who are embarking on internships, who are receiving or earning, they're not receiving, they're earning their certificate. And for those that are signing up for their first year next year. Let's see, just remember that all successes are important, whether they seem big or small, they all add up in the end. And as our stellar students are working hard to finish strong, I am grateful to our parents, caregivers, community, staff, and their peers for keeping themselves on track to make sure that the end of the year ends up great. I was a little bit surprised that board ethics and etiquette, as outlined in the agenda for the February 25th board retreat, did not make it onto this agenda, but I'm sure it will make it on the next one. And this is just out there, and I'm sure we have, but as our rentals are being, or our facilities are being rented out as they had been prior to all that stuff. I just wanted to make sure that we are enforcing or making sure that the rules are being adhered to, such as no smoking, no firearms, et cetera, whatever is aligns with our rules and our statutes. And on that note, I'm finished.
Stephanie?
I hope everybody had a great spring break. It's nice to be back. I was able to attend the March 8th pop lunch at Barry Goldwater. This one was extra special, not that that was also very great, but this one was ran by our students at Barry Goldwater, and the culinary students, and they did an absolute phenomenal job on their food. It was absolutely delicious. So I'm just really impressed by those students as well as their teachers. Bunch of our schools right now are having their Day of Awesomeness. It's a fundraiser. I was able to volunteer at Union Parks for several hours. The kids raise money for their school, and then they get this Day of Awesomeness, which is full of bounce houses, dancing, and it was just really fun. The kids absolutely love it. It's exciting, and it just seems to work out really well. So I got to take part in one of those. And then I had a great time setting up the prom dress shop with Anne, Miss Ordway, as well as volunteering on Thursday the 23rd. We had some great students come in and try dresses on and walked away very, very happy. So that was wonderful. I also wanted to mention that I'm a little disappointed in the fact that the ethics and etiquette was not put on today's agenda of March 28th that had been discussed during our board retreat. Thank you. And then again on the last couple of meetings, so it's still not on. It really, I just want people to understand it's just about ethics and etiquette. You know, what is proper, like, what's the best way we need to be presenting ourselves as school board leaders on social media? What's appropriate, what's not? It's really not anything that needs to get continued to push back. So I hope I can see it on the next one. And then Paul and I have been working on our shoe drive for our Title I schools. We've been working with different schools. I wanted our community to know that there are drop boxes now at Sonoran Foothills, Norterra Canyon, and Union Park. And I just want to say, if you're out and about, let's say you're at Target or something, I've been able to go over there quite a few times and just get really great deals on shoes for kids that I've dropped off at some of our Title I schools in the past. And I would love to just see our community come together and do that. A simple one pair of shoes, drop it off at one of those schools. I also have been set up at my husband's office right outside so people could drop those off. I had posted that on a few pages. And then some of the schools are going to also be putting it out in their bulletin. But it does end on Friday. Our goal was April 1st to end. And so I really would appreciate if someone is, or anyone in our community is out there doing that, just pick up an extra pair and drop them off at one of those schools. I am also more than willing to come and pick them up from your house. So I am available to do that, and I would be more than happy to do so. Let's see. We have our DVUSD job fair that's happening this Saturday, along with a wonderful, I'm so excited about this, our student art showcase. It's going to be in the Innovation Center. So it'll be nice to take part in both of those. And I know some of our students have already begun their testing for the state testing, but for the month of April, it's usually taken up by that. I just want to wish every one of our students good luck on their testing, grades 3 and above. You got this. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Carver?
Thank you, President Paperman. So it's been a busy vacation. March 8th, as Ms. Simicek mentioned, the Pop Luncheon at Barry Goldwater High School, 27th Avenue Cafe. It's my first opportunity to dine with the students there, and it was amazing. We had pork tenderloin and some marinated chicken breast, along with some salad and green beans, and it was amazing. and we had some good CTE discussion. It wasn't all about the food, but there was some good information passed on there. And if anybody ever has an opportunity to attend one of these pop luncheons, I would suggest it. There's some good information put out there. In the evening of March 8th, I alluded to it at the last meeting, but there's a STEAM teacher over there in a makerspace classroom, Miss Witt. And when I was on my tour last month and I went through Inspiration Mountain, she was talking to me about all the beautiful ideas that she had for her classroom. And Inspiration Mountain, as well known, is a new school, and it was a relatively empty classroom. And I asked her, kind of tongue-in-cheek, do you have a shopping list? And she said, as a matter of fact, and she walked over to a paper that had her wish list on it. I took that to the community, and our community is amazing. We filled every item on her wish list, and so Wednesday evening we went over there and delivered that to the classroom, to Miss Witt and the students, and they are using everything, and they have plans on expanding the scope of what they expose the children to, and it's a beautiful thing. March 13th, as Ms. Simicek mentioned, her and I partnered together to do a shoe drive throughout the district to help specifically our Title I schools, and we have a goal of 200 pairs of shoes. I know that there's many drop boxes throughout the district, and Inspiration Mountain was actually collecting shoes at their STEAM night the other day, and they collected over 60 pairs of shoes. And I've got roughly about 100 sitting at the house, including that 60 to add to it. So again, as Ms. Simicek mentioned, if anybody that's listening has shoes that they would like to donate, gently used or new kid-sized shoes, reach out to either one of us, and we're happy to come to you if you're not able to drop off. March 17th, in tying in with our shoe drive, when I put the word out there that we were going to do this, little did I know that I had a close friend of mine that is a connection with the Arizona Rattlers. So the Arizona Rattlers has decided to do wave 2 of our shoe drive starting April 8th, running through August. And they're collecting shoes at every kickoff party, every away game party, every home game, and they're trying to tie something together for the season finale game August 8th. Something to the effect of everybody throwing their shoes on the field or something like that. And so I already have a full box of shoes at the house that those folks have been raising. So we're going to do that for the beginning of the school year. We'll have that donation put together. March 22nd, attended the grand opening for a TSMC feeder company called Tokyo Electronics. That doesn't sound like much, but this organization is employing 400 to 450 people over off of 23rd and Pinnacle Peak. And we got to meet some of the folks that are working closely with these organizations to help the families assimilate to American culture. And they need help and they need direction. And it was great to hear how well that they believe that they've been received. And we're developing a really good partnership with them to help them identify the things that they need so that they can feel welcome and functioning members of society out here. So it was a good experience. March 24th, again, was the STEAM night at Inspiration Mountain, the shoe drive I mentioned, over 60 pairs of shoes. They focused on and showcased their choir, their band, their art, the STEM classroom, and each class did a raffle tickets and then a silent raffle to help raise funds so that they can do the things that they need to do throughout the school year. We also had a 10-minute preview of Seussical Junior, and that looks like it's going to be an amazing time. So if you guys get a chance, April 28th and 29th at Inspiration Mountain, buy your tickets. I know that Nick would like to see you there. That's all I've got.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes. Well, first I want to welcome everybody back from spring break. Thanks for coming back, except for Heather. She's leaving. Just kidding, Heather. I did attend the pop luncheon and the preschool event that was held here at the district office. I do owe an apology to Inspiration Mountain that I was on my way to go to your event, but there was a pileup on the I-10, so instead I stayed there through your event. So I do apologize. I was scheduled to go as well. I did have a couple of things brought to my attention in the past few weeks from multiple schools. One of the things that I wanted to possibly ask for more information, I would like to get, if we have a club handbook or a handbook for our teachers on to-dos. You know, I know most districts do have the handbook and processes. And if you can also let me know whether it's different for high school or elementary, junior high. Because I am a little concerned. I've heard over the years just different concerns, and I'm wondering if is it a training, is it a manual, is it what type of issues they are, and then I would like us to have some kind of a either an agenda item or a discussion item where we actually talk about our clubs, the importance of our clubs, and what we can do to help move them forward. Because kids who are engaged in clubs are more likely to stay in school, they're more likely to get a good education. It is vital, as the sports and music and other things, but clubs really make a difference with keeping our kids in our classrooms. Ironically, one of the concerns I got was regarding our dress code. And you would think it's one thing or the other. I was actually a little shocked. I would like to know, I mean, I can see our dress code within our handbooks and whatnot, but I would like to know what our enforcement is of those dress codes. And I would like to know if it's consistent throughout the district. I generally get concerns about, spaghetti straps or too low cut or too high cut, things like that. This individual's concern was about students dressing like animals and refusing to speak in class, meowing or barking and expecting to be responded to, things like that. Basic disruption within our schools. And I would like to have an idea. It apparently is prevalent in 2 schools is what was reported to me. I would like to know if that's a problem we're really having, because there is no teacher that should try and talk to a student and have them meow at them. That is, to me, just such a severe discipline problem. It's just disruption. So I would like to know exactly how prevalent that is, if it's a problem, how much of a problem it is. This was two different schools that there were concern. The other concerns I got were from three different individuals, and they were all surrounding bathrooms. Yes, one of them was the standard boys and girls bathrooms, girls and boys bathrooms. But the other issues are also highly concerning. There was talk about drugs in our bathrooms. There is talk about fight clubs happening in our bathrooms, where kids are challenged to go to the bathrooms to basically fight each other, just beat each other up, or see if they could take a punch. Which, by the way, if a student punches another student over the heart hard enough, they could kill them instantly. These are serious concerns, and some of them are not unfounded. They came with good points of reference as to this occurring in several of our schools. And one of the concerns that a parent had that to me was kind of a little heartbreaking is their student is refusing to go to the bathroom. They're withholding until they get home, and as a result, they're getting sick. They're having health issues. They're having concerns. And so I would really like to have information from the district on what, if anything, is currently being done to address this type of issues. Is it consistent across the district? Are we doing, one of the persons who expressed concern, their concern was that there was no consistency across the district. And I kind of told them, we have the same handbook for everybody. And they said, yeah, I get that, but not everybody applies it. Not everybody really holds to it. And so that's concerning. Okay.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. I would like to congratulate all the students and staff that got awards today. Also, I attended Peter Pan play and Guys and Doll, and I was very impressed how the students were acting. They look like professional actors. I brought my stepkids with me, and they were like, wow, this is a great Broadway show. So congratulations to all those students too. They did an amazing job, and the staff that put it together. I also visited Deer Valley High School and Barry Goldwater High School. The goal of my visit was to see how the principals are doing, any support that they need from the board members, and also listening to parents' concerns, similar to what Mrs. Fisher is stating was happening within the schools. I truly believe as an educator, we need to provide more support to the administration. They are doing multiple jobs, especially Title I school like Deer Valley High School and Barry Goldwater High School. They need more bodies to give them that support so they can put their focus more on academic. To think out of the box, I looked at other high schools, maybe hire a dean of students that can support with discipline. Maybe, I looked, some dean of students, they have a teacher's salary and they're given a stipend for those positions. And that will support a lot to the principals with behavior so they can focus more on academic. And the reason I'm bringing more academic for the high school level, we need to consider of elected officials. For example, the Board of Education, they're looking more with accountability. We might go back to kids cannot graduate unless they pass an exam. So if the administration is putting more focus on discipline and not academic, then that's going to affect our students. So if we can think out of the box so we can get more support for the administration, Because right now, what I hear from parents and what Mrs. Fisher is saying, yes, there's a lot of things going on in the schools and not enough bodies to provide that support. Another thing that I was asking questions are students. For example, I have dealt with students that have said, when I graduate, my parents are going to throw me out of the house. They don't know, I'm not going to be homeless. Or I have dealt with students that have contact my kids and say, oh, my parents threw me out, where do I go? I try to support by finding resources or even CCV, the church. So my question is, do we have a process in place for our students, or how many students are going from homes to home or sofa to sofa or sleeping at a friend's house? To me, this is important to know. Maybe we do need a social worker. Maybe we need, the high schools to have a social worker, because there's so much on the administration plate that we need an extra person that these kids can go to get all those resources. Because on my part, I realize how much time and effort I have to do doing my research to help these students that have no place to sleep because their parents threw them out. They may be 17 or 18, or maybe a year later after they graduate, 19 or even 20, they're still kids. Deer Valley, I see it more as a community, give our kids, no matter what, even if they graduate, to me, maybe if we have something in place, if they don't have a home to stay, they can always come back to a social worker at our high school to get some direction. So I do have concerns with that, and I think we need to come up with a process, because no matter what, they're all our students, regardless what the situation is at home. So I will be visiting other high schools, so far just Deer Valley and Barry Goldwater, and I will be asking same questions. How can the principals get support from the governing board? What do we need to do? And like I said, they need more bodies, more support so they can focus more academic. And I will stress to put more bodies, because we need to focus to get our kids to graduate. If this comes in place, that they need to take tests in order to graduate. Thank you.
All right.
Dr.
Yep,
Finch.
thank you. The again, board members too, if you could help send emails to us of details of the specific schools that you hear about certain things, or forward the emails, that would help. And there helps us narrow the search, because we have 42 schools. So that helps us a little bit from an administrative standpoint. Any help you can give us there is great. I just want to publicly thank Mr. Carver. He helped me through Senator Kaiser get a seat at the table again with a new administration at the State Land Authority, as we were looking for future school sites in the TSMC zone. It's not if that zone isn't exploded, it's when. And so we need to be in the front of that growth, not as an afterthought. So Senator Kaiser is going to have be able to get us a seat to start that discussion again. This morning, Tony Galetti from Sierra Verde received the GCU Principal of the Month. We surprised him. And he was not ready. It was great. It's always great when you surprise somebody they didn't know they're getting an award, and obviously it was based on character, education, STEM resources, and innovation for student success. So congratulations to Tony. This afternoon, Dr. Z and Mr. Migrino and myself met with GCU again on our project called CityServe, trying to get resources to families and students. And the initial plan was to go the church route, and we just struggled with finding a church that was big enough but not too big to handle that idea. Well, they came up with a new idea. They're going to have closets, and so I think that will work for us. So we're going to start working with them on a different concept and putting clothes, closets, shoes, classes. This will all fit in that concept. So looking forward to that relationship to continue. We've been working on it really for the last 3 years, and now we might have a solution to the riddle. The as mentioned, the art show is on April 1st, and it's at the Innovation Center. I believe it starts at 10, but you could come at 9 to this room and get a job because the job fair is at 9, and you can get a bus ride because will be buses here. You can get a bus ride. I don't think they'll let you drive it. You can get a free hot dog as well. You can get a bus ride from the district office to the Innovation Center. So if you want, I don't think they'll let you drive it, though. I know Mr. Carver's thinking, hey, I could run a bus. Yes, you could. We have that NBCT celebration on Saturday. I believe all of you are going. That will be a great event to celebrate our teachers that have accomplished that certification, which is a tough one. I'm getting close to my 500th visit. I'm in the 490s, I think, now. I try to get to 500 classrooms a year. And always about this time, somewhere around here, I usually get close. What else did I want to hit? Oh, we have Mountain Ridge Baseball is currently ranked #1 in the state of Arizona. Yeah, that is true. And on top of it, I just got a text message that we have a student, an OC O'Connor softball player that is going to be playing in the Pan American Games for the 15 and under USA team in Peru starting next week or this week. So that's pretty crazy. They have kids making a national global impact. So congratulations to those students. So I think that was it. Next board meeting is Tuesday, April 11th. And on Friday, next week, spring break day. Or, yeah, politically correct spring break day. Say hi to the chocolate Easter bunny. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. No other questions? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.